We're going to build a unit converter application using Python, and specifically using the Tkinter library. This is going to allow us to create our own GUI or graphical user interface. So this tool is going to be to convert values between common units like miles to kilometers, pounds to kilograms, and temperatures. Obviously, you can add any conversions you want. You can build this out in any way that you like, but we'll start off with those basic and common conversions. I'm going to explain each step as we go, so you learn just not how to build this, but also how it works under the hood. And by the end, you'll have a working app and a clear understanding of the concept, so you can add this to your portfolio and use it in your day-to-day life if you so need it. So let's dive in and get started with this Python project. So here I am. I'm going to be building this inside Visual Studio Code or VS Code. And for this, we have no libraries you need to install. Everything that we're using is built into the Python standard library. We'll be using Tkinter, and essentially that is already built in. So there's no need to pip install anything else. So once we've got that clarified, essentially, the next thing we need to do is start by doing our import. So at the very beginning, we can import the necessary libraries, and then we're going to define a dictionary, which is going to handle our conversions. So this is essentially the kind of main part of the project. We need to do our imports and then set up our dictionary, which is going to do all of our conversions. And these conversions are going to be the essential part of this application. So we want to import Tkinter, okay? And we're going to import that as TK. That's fairly standard. That's standard practice. Then from this, we're going to import TTK. Okay, so those are the two imports you need to start with. That is essential. Make sure you add those two to the top of your file. And then after that, we're going to create a conversion map dictionary. And this is going to be essentially the heart of the application. It's the backbone of the application, whichever way around you want to call it. And what we're going to have is obviously a dictionary, our key value pair, we're going to use so that each unit maps to another unit and it specifies how a conversion is performed. So by doing this, we're going to use a standard dictionary with one unit as the key, and then the value is going to be another dictionary, and within that is going to be the conversion unit and also a lambda function. So I'll start building this and it'll make a lot more sense once you see it, but in essence, we're going to have a dictionary full of units, conversion units, and lambda functions to conduct the conversion. And this is a really Pythonic way to keep it really neat. And lambda functions, of course, are like mini functions that execute a conversion. So this is going to be a nice, neat way to do this without having to build lots of separate functions. So I'm going to call this dictionary conversion map, because that makes sense. We're going to be mapping conversions. And then it's a dictionary. So to begin with, for instance, I've got miles. Maybe I want to convert miles naturally to kilometers. And to do that, I'm going to create my key as miles, and then my value is going to be another dictionary. So it's going to be like a nested dictionary. And within that, I'm going to say that I want to convert it to kilometers. And then to do the conversion, I'm going to use a lambda function. So I do lambda, and then it's going to be x times 160,934. So hopefully you're familiar with lambda functions, but hopefully that makes sense. You can see that we're passing in x, and x is going to be operated on like this. So we're converting miles to kilometers by times by 1.60934. And we're going to follow this for every conversion. Now, the reason I've taken this approach, because that within our tool, what we're going to do is ensure that when someone clicks on a unit, for instance, miles, and they want to complete a conversion, they're only going to get one option, which is to convert to kilometers. Otherwise, you might end up having a list. Imagine you had two lists and you try to convert from miles to inches. Okay, maybe you do want that, or miles to Fahrenheit. That's not going to make any sense. So we're basically making this so that our tool works specifically for converting from one unit to a specific other unit. Now, rather than typing, or rather than speaking through everything I do as I go, I'm going to type the rest out now. So obviously we want to go from kilometers back to miles. Now that's fairly straightforward. I'm sure you can work that out, but obviously the idea here is that we're undoing what we're doing when we do the conversion the other way. So we're going to be doing what? We're going to be dividing. So x divided by 1.60934. So that's obviously the opposite of that. That's fairly logical, isn't it? So let's talk about weight or mass, technically. So we've got pounds, and with pounds, we want to convert that to kilograms. So they've got kilograms, and then our lambda function is going to be making the conversion by timesing this x times 0.453592. Okay, that's all fairly straightforward. Great. And then we're going to go from kilograms back to pounds. So we've got kilograms, we're going back to pounds, and then of course how are we going to do that? Yeah, it's the opposite again. We just do the opposite. So we do x divided by 0.453592. Lovely. Okay, so we've done some mass conversions. Now let's do some other distances. So we'll do inches, and we're going to convert that to centimeters. Okay, naturally, and again another lambda function, and this is going to be converted by doing x times 2.54. Make sure there's a decimal point there. Great. And then obviously we want to go from centimeters, type it properly, back to inches. And again, so we can have a lambda function. And within this lambda function, we're going to be x divided by 2.54. So I think you understand what's going on. Once you've done one, doing the second one, it's very straightforward. Then how would we do temperature? We'll go from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Celsius. I could type it properly. Celsius, with an S even. Then we want to do our lambda function, and to make this conversion, it is going to be the following. It's going to be x minus 32. Okay. Now this is a slightly more complicated reversal. So can you understand how to do the reversal here? I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to type it out and see if you already know. A little bit of a quiz, if you like. So Fahrenheit. Okay. And then we're going with a lambda. And what we're doing here, we're doing, well, x times 9/5. Okay. And then we are adding 32. Great. So there we go. We have our conversion map. This dictionary, as I said, is the backbone of the application, and we're using lambda functions to keep it concise. Great. So now we have our conversion logic. The final stage is to actually build our application's interface. And we're going to do that using Tkinter. But before I proceed, let me briefly discuss how it works. So this is a library for creating GUIs or graphical user interfaces rather, in Python. You start by creating a TK object, which represents the main application window. Then you add widgets like labels, buttons, text fields to this window. And finally, you use the main loop to keep the application running. It's a really straightforward formula. Once you've done it once, you'll understand exactly what's going on. So what's the next step for us? Well, we want to write a function to update the options in the to dropdown whenever the user selects a from unit. So if you think about this, if you want to convert from miles, you're going to be converting it to kilometers. Because obviously you notice that in our conversion map, we've got, and then the unit to, and then this is the operation to make that conversion happen. That is the method that we've got there. So we need to create a function to handle this. So I'm going to create a function now, and it's called update to units, and pass in an event. Okay, so what is happening here? Well, the event parameter is passed automatically by Tkinter when the function is triggered by user action. So it's like selecting an item from the dropdown that will trigger this. And the get method that I'm now going to define is going to retrieve the current value of the unit from var variable, which is linked to the from dropdown, which we're going to create in a moment. This will all start to tie together as we go through this, but let me just get this started. So I've got my selected unit. It's equal to unit from var get. Okay, so I'm getting the current value from the from dropdown. Okay, and the dropdown we obviously haven't created yet. Once we do create this, this will all tie back in. Right, so then we're going to check if the selected unit is in our conversion map. So obviously we need it to be in there. It should be, we're controlling what's in this list, so it should be fine. We were then going to do the following. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is that we're going to basically work on a set method, and the set method is going to update the value of the unit to var variable, ensuring the dropdown is cleared before updating the option. So this might seem a bit confusing, but it will all make sense since we've written the code out and then we work on the GUI. So I'm saying if it's in the map, okay, what do I want to do next? So I'm going to do the following. So just watch me, and then once I build up the rest, this will all make more sense. Okay, I'm using my list function to create a list from the conversion map using the selected unit, and I'm getting the keys. Okay, now what do I do next? I'm going to do combo to set. Perfect. Right, now if it isn't in there, I need to handle that. So else I'm going to do the following. Combo to, I'm going to set values equal to an empty string. So there's no match, we set to an empty string. Then following, using my set again. Okay, so this might seem a bit confusing for now, but this is going to be essential for what happens in our app, because what we're doing is we're allowing the user to select a unit to convert from, and then we want to handle the unit they're going to convert to, and this is what's going to happen here. We're going to update part of our application to show the right unit to based upon this. Okay, that will make more sense once we get through our demo. So let's just carry on for now. So the next part we need to do is to write our conversion function. This is the function that's going to perform the conversion whenever the user clicks our button to do a conversion. And this will again seem very obvious when you see the GUI. So let's create another function. So we'll come back over here. So let's call this convert, which I think is fairly logical. Okay. And then within this, we can do the following. So we've got unit from, we're going to make this equal to unit from var.get. So notice this is very similar to what we did in here, how we're fetching this. So we're retrieving values from the dropdowns and the input field using the get method. Okay, and then what do we want to do next? unit 2. We want that as well, right? So we've got unit from, we want unit 2. So the unit 2 var dot get. So again, this will seem really obvious when you see the GUI. Essentially, we can have two drop downs and we want to fetch what those two values are and then assign them to these two variables. Then we're going to use these to convert the values. Okay, so now we're going to have a try and accept block. So I'm going to say try, and I'm going to say the following: value is equal to a floating point conversion for the entry value dot. What we want the user to enter in is a number. Okay, they should be entering in a number. It could be an integer, it could be a float, whatever they enter, and we're going to convert that to a float. Ooh, spelling error there. Now the issue is if they obviously enter something that isn't a number, well, we need to handle that, right? This is going to be handled by our accept, which is going to be a value error. Okay, so if they don't give us a number, we need to tell them something's gone wrong. So what we can do is the following: we can create a label called the result label, which we're going to use within our app, and we're going to set the text for that to the following: invalid input, please enter a number. So we are telling the user something's gone wrong, and we're going to set what that is within this part here, and then we're going to return. Okay, so this will again become clearer when you see all the widgets and the components of our GUI, because we're working on them now before we've actually written them out. So that might seem slightly counterintuitive, but we'll tie it all back together in a moment. So assuming the user has entered a number, okay, what we're doing is we're collecting that with our get method, we're converting it to a float, and we're making it the value variable. Great. If they don't, we're telling them something's gone wrong, please try again. So now what do we need to do? So we've got our unit from, so if it's in our conversion map, and the unit 2 is in our conversion map using our unit from as the key. So we're making sure that the from unit is there, and then we're looking for the unit to convert to by taking that, passing it into this, and then returning this key here. So we should return this and this. So if we've selected miles to kilometers, we should see that both of these exist within there. If they are both there, we can then proceed. Okay, so what are we going to do? We want a result, which is going to be our variable, and it's going to be conversion map, and we're going to say, well, we've got a unit from, and then we've got our unit 2, and then when we return, oh, let me make sure we do that properly, do that, and then unit 2. So we're returning this, okay? So we're giving it to our dictionary saying, say it's miles is the key. That would return this in a nested dictionary. We're then passing in the next key, which is kilometers, and that will return this value, which is a lambda function. And that's the thing we want to do our conversion. And all we then need to do is pass in the value as our parameter, and that will then be passed into this lambda function, perform the conversion, and it will return it to result here with the assignment. And then all we need to do is output that to the user. So we can use this label again, label result. We can use the config function, and we're going to do the following. Okay, we're going to say text is equal to, we're going to do an f string, which is a formatted string literal, and we're going to say value unit from, and then we're going to say it's equal to result, and we're going to use some formatting. So we will do the following: we'll do it a floating point to 2 decimal points, and then we will add unit 2. So this is a fairly basic string. We're just outputting the value with the units from is equal to the result with 2 decimal points with the unit 2. So for instance, if we went from 1 mile to kilometers, it would show 1 mile is equal to the result in kilometers. Okay, fairly straightforward, I would say. Now, of course, if the unit is not in the conversion map and it is not also in here with the unit from, then what do we need to do? We need to handle that with an else. And within this, we're simply going to set our label result again with the config function, and we're going to say text is equal to invalid conversion. Okay, so now at this point, we're able to essentially handle the conversion because we're going to be retrieving values from dropdowns and input fields using this, and we're going to be checking if it's a valid number, ensuring the units exist in our map, and if everything's valid, we call the appropriate lambda function, perform the conversion, and then we're going to display the result. So the final bit is to build the user interface. This is obviously where everything is going to come together, right? You need to be able to see the user interface. So this is going to be using a bunch of Tkinter widgets. So there's the core functionality, which we already have, but we need to create labels, input fields, drop downs, and buttons. Now, rather than walking through absolutely everything that's going on here, I'm going to type it all out, and I recommend that you just read at what's here. And if you need to familiarize yourself with the Tkinter documentation just to follow what's going on, I'd highly encourage you to do that as well. But here's the gist. I'm going to start by creating this. So root is equal to tk.tk. Okay, this is fairly standard. And I'm going to set the title, and I'm going to set this to unit converter. I'm then going to do my geometry, which is going to be the size. So I've got geometry, and I'm going to say it is equal to 400 by 300. You can put whatever size that you like. And I'm going to use my configure, and I'm going to set the background. I'm going to say BG is equal to, what color can I use? How about we go with F0, F4, F7. Great. Okay. So that's the main window taken care of. Next, we need to do the input values. So I've got label value is equal to ttk.label. And then I've got to pass in some parameters. So I've got root, which is the window, of course. I've got text is going to be equal to value. And then I've got background. And I'm going to say that is equal to the same as this. Copy this, paste it in there. Great. So then I want to add some packing. So let's do label value dot pack. And we're going to say pad by y with 5. Okay, and then entry value we're going to say is equal to dot entry. So this is an entry. We'll make sure we've got a k there, otherwise that's not going to work. ttk.entry. And then again, I'm obviously assigning this to root, and let's set the font equal to the following. So let's say Arial with size 12. We'll make sure we get out that with size 12. Great. And then let's again add some packing. So entry value dot pack, and we're going to pad this y with 5. Okay, so now we've got our input. So what do we need to do next? Our drop down. So we've got our drop down for our from unit and for our to units. Let's start with our from. So I've got label from. I'm going to make this a label. Again, it's for root. Text is going to say convert from, and then background is equal to again this. So let's just copy this rather than typing out again. So great. So we've got that, and then label from. We're going to pack this as well and say pad y equals 5. Okay, now we need our unit from var is equal to tk.string var. Okay, great. And then we've got our combo from is equal to ttk combo box. Okay, again, we're assigning this to root. Text variable, we can say is equal to unit from var. And then font, let's go over here and just do the same with this. We'll copy this. Same for that. Don't want that. Okay, font, let's make it 10 instead of 12. Great. And then combo from, again, to say use is equal to a list using our conversion map as the argument to pass in, and we want the keys from that. So we're converting the keys to a list and passing those as the values to our combination from dropdown. Great. And then combo from, we're going to bind, and then we're going to add selected, and 2 carets for that, and then date to units. Lovely. And then we're going to pack this again and pad y with 5. Brilliant. Okay, so we've got our from unit drop down box taken care of. Now let's do the to unit. So label to is again a label, and we're going to assign that to root. Text equal to convert to background. Again, we want this background, so let's take that. Great. Okay, and then we want label 2. We're going to pack that. Add y5 again. Unit to var. So I hope you didn't mind me talking this out loud as I fill this all out, but I just want you to see what I'm doing as I'm doing it in real time. Hopefully you can start to see this all knitting together based on what we've already pre-written out as it relates to the functions beforehand. Variable is equal to unit to var, of course. And then font, we're going to want the same as this. Let's copy that. Great, so we've got that. And then we're going to pack this. So this is combo 2. We're going to take it by 5. Lovely. And now we need a convert button. So this is the button the user is going to press when they want to conduct their conversion. So we'll call this convert. We're going to call this a TTK button even. Okay, and then within this, we're going to say we want this on the root again. Text is simply going to say convert, And then the command is going to be convert, because that's the function we've defined for that, of course. Style is going to be button. And then once we've done that, the next stage is to pack this as well. Button convert pack, add y 5. Oh, but we'll give it 10, I think, actually, for that. It makes more sense. And then finally, we need our result label, which is where we can output the result to the user. So label result. So again, TTK label. Once more, assigning to root. Text is going to start as blanks until we add something to this. We want this to be blank. Remember, we're adding either error messages or the result messages to this label. Let's make the font size 14, so it's nice and readable. We'll make the background this as well. So copying and pasting it rather than typing it all out. And then what else do we want to add to this? Maybe we could add a foreground value as well. I think that might make sense. So if we add foreground, great. And then we want to pad this as well. So that's label result. We're going to pack, and then we're going to pad y, I think, by okay. And then finally, the last bit is to use main loop, and we are done. So I've just created that as fast as I possibly could for you. Hopefully you didn't find that too boring. But what we have here now is that we have created labels and input fields to collect user data. The drop-down menus allow users to select units, and the button triggers the conversion function, and the result is then displayed in the label at bottom. This all ties in to everything we've done up here. So we're using our convert function, notice that, and we're using update to units as well. Notice we're doing that here. So we're using update to units to control what is shown within the to drop-down based upon what the user has chosen as the from. I think the best thing to do is to save this, and then we're going to head on over to the terminal, and let's run this and see what we see. So let's do Python run unit converter. Hopefully there's no errors. I haven't checked this. I'm assuming it's going to be fine. And here we go. Here is our unit converter. And as you can see, I've got my options for convert from: miles, kilometers, pounds, kilograms, inches, centimeters, Fahrenheit, and Celsius. That's the from, and to is currently blank. So what do I need to do? If I say convert from miles, what do I then see? I can convert to kilometers. If I convert to kilometers, what do I then see? I can convert to miles. So notice we're controlling the to based upon the from. So kilograms is obviously to pounds, and so on and so forth. So if I put in 125 kilograms and click convert, the label is shown there. 105 kilograms equal to that in pounds. And there you have it. You have your conversion tool. It is fully functional. It is a graphical tool. It's really powerful. And as you can see, it was actually quite straightforward to set up. So that's it. We've now built a fully functional unit converter. You can easily extend this by adding more units, improving the UI, adding more styling, colors, whatever you like. And essentially, this is the framework for you to do lots of things with Tkinter, but also to make a really powerful unit conversion tool. So I hope you enjoyed following along with this. We've got plenty more Python projects on the way. Check out our others as well. But let us know in the comments how you found this. Let us know if there's anything else you'd like us to expand on or cover in the future. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.